Iran has announced that it is partially withdrawing from a landmark nuclear deal struck with world powers in 2015. It comes exactly 1 year after the US pulled out of the accord, which was designed to limit Tehran's ability to produce nuclear fuel. Now, President Hassan Rouhani said Iran plans to stop complying with certain parts of the agreement and says if the deal isn't renegotiated within 60 days, Iran will once again begin enriching uranium to high levels. The move comes at a time of growing tension between Tehran and Washington. On Tuesday, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo made an unannounced visit to neighboring Iraq, where he accused Iran of planning imminent attacks. And earlier this week, the US announced it was deploying an aircraft carrier to the region because of alleged new threats from Tehran. Joining me now from Tehran is Amir Havasi. He is the from the French news agency AFP. Welcome to you, Amir. Now, Iran has partially withdrawn from the deal, saying it will reduce some voluntary commitments within its nuclear deal. What exactly does this mean?
Well, hello to you. If you follow the news so far, to be specific, it means that, first of all, Iran is going to stop selling its excess heavy water and its enriched uranium as part of the deal was decreed. And this is meant in a move to somehow, let's say, persuade Europe into taking a stance against the renewed sanctions. And it's so far been a year, and Iran has claimed it's engaged in a strategic patience for it to get what it believes is its rightful part in the deal, which is sanctions relief, and it has not got it so far, I would say.
So from what you are saying, that this is actually a negotiating measure to put pressure on Washington?
Well, negotiating would be putting it too broadly. If you did listen to what President Rouhani said, this is not a negotiation. This is talking about the JCPOA again in the framework of the JCPOA. Now, Iran has said that it has not left the diplomacy table, but it has not signaled that it's going to renegotiate a new deal or renegotiate the terms of the JCPOA.
But it is looking to renegotiate the terms of the deal because Iran has given a deadline of 60 days to discuss us. Do we know exactly what Iran is looking for?
Well, in the words of the president, Iran is clearly looking for the banking situation and the oil export situation to go back before the U.S. left the deal back in May 2018. Now, how is that supposed to come into play? It's not exactly clear. But still, Iran does emphasize that these are still parts of the deal's terms, and these are not going to be renegotiated. Iran is calling for everyone to return to the deal, in their own words.
So, and what Iran has also said that if this deadline is not met, that it will start enriching uranium. Amir, give me a sense of what prompted this decision by Iran. Was it just in response to the US, or is there also domestic pressure from hardliners at home?
Well, it's obviously, it has various aspects. Now, it's been a year so far. Some might call it, ever since we had the rumors that this statement will be out on Wednesday, that this was the beginning of the end for the JCPOA. But I would say this is the beginning on its own, that things are going to start happening now after a year of inactivity. That, Washington had the mic on the JCPOA so far. Now Iran is going to do something new about it. And of course, it has its reasons from inside the country, the economic reasons. It does need its foreign currency supply to rise after you could say, the crash Riyadh has had so far. And also, at the same time, it needs to do something about it from the outside. It's trying to manage the country from the inside, but foreign policy has been too much intertwined with the economy right now.
Right, Amir Havasi, AFP's correspondent in Tehran. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you for having me.
Now, with me, I have Markus Keim. He's from the German Institute for International and Security Affairs. Now, we heard what Amir had to say, Markus. Now, Germany has been one of the driving forces in this nuclear deal. How much of a diplomatic setback is this move by Tehran?
Absolutely. It's a terrible setback for German foreign and security policy, or to put it in a bigger context for European foreign and security policy. I mean, the German government has rejected the withdrawal of the United States exactly 1 year ago from the agreement. And since then, it's desperately looking together with Russia, with China, with the UK and France to sustain as much as possible from this deal, and has set up a special purpose vehicle to facilitate trade with Iran, but wasn't really able to provide the economic benefits the Iranian government wanted to have.
And the US Secretary of State Mark Pompeo was in Iraq, where he talked about specific intelligence of attacks being imminent. Now, what do you make of his claim?
I cannot really judge his assessment because it's intelligence. However, I think it makes sense given the recent escalation between the United States and Iran over the last, let's say, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. It would make sense from an Iranian point of view to escalate even one step further. And given the superiority, military superiority of the United States, it doesn't make sense to challenge the United States openly, but instead put emphasis on some kind of asymmetric warfare, meaning that would allow the Iranian government to initiate attacks by Iranian-led or driven militia either in Lebanon, in Syria or in Iraq.
Now, we heard what Amir had to say. He talked about this move maybe being an attempt to put pressure on the Europeans who still support this deal into confronting the United States and renegotiating the terms of this agreement within 60 days. How optimistic are you that a compromise will be reached?
I would fully agree with this assessment. I mean, the Iranian government has sent a very finely calibrated message. On the one hand, saying we're not cancelling the agreement as such, but we're withdrawing from some sub-agreements of this deal. And it puts pressure on the Europeans to deliver what the United States has rejected since 1 year. But given the recent tensions between the Europeans and the United States with regard to the nuclear deal, I'm quite skeptical if the Europeans are able to deliver.
So what are the wider implications of this move? Lots of international reaction coming in. Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel has spoken, China has spoken, Russia has spoken. Will this saber rattling really enhance tensions in the region?
I think it might have major implications for the Middle East and for the non-proliferation regime as such. For the Middle East, we're back to the Bush years, to the exos of evil years, and what has been left of the recent rapprochement between the United States and Iran has been destroyed. And what are the lessons for the North Koreans, for example? They have to accept, or they will draw the conclusion that any agreement with the United States will not sustain, and therefore it's a serious blow for any kind of non-proliferation efforts.
Markus Keim from the German Institute for International Security Affairs, thank you very much for that analysis.
My pleasure.